After visiting Le Cimetière du Père-Lachaise, I grabbed lunch from a restaurant right across the street. The staff there recommended me their burger. It was pretty good, even by American standards. Does anyone know what kind of meat they used, considering that the restaurant was right by a cemetery? Of course, it was a beef burger. French beef was delicious and juicy. What else were you thinking? After lunch, I headed to Quartier to finally explore this neighborhood during daylight. Our first stop is possibly one of the most famous gardens in Paris, the Jardin du Luxembourg, or the Luxembourg Gardens. Like many public gardens in Paris, such as Jardin des Tuileries, which we visited in one of the previous episodes, Jardin du Luxembourg was also once the garden of a royal palace, le Palais du Luxembourg, or the Luxembourg Palace, originally built for Marie de Medici, the regent of King Louis XIII, and was totally off the limits to the general public. Today, this impressive garden is for everyone to enjoy for free, all brought to part by the French Revolution. The Luxembourg Palace, while not visited by the public as much as the garden, today houses the Senate of the French Republic. Okay, enough talking. Why don't we take some time and relax with the Parisians? As Paris's main university district, Quartier Latin felt less touristy, yet more energetic. Standing in the center of the neighborhood is Le Pantheon, or in English, the Pantheon. It is a national mausoleum where only the most honored and distinguished French citizens in history could be placed here for eternal rest. Because the admission of Le Pantheon is covered by the Paris Museum Pass, we will be visiting the interior and the tombs of some very famous French citizens later in this France adventure when we return to Paris. I would say so far this is my favorite part of Paris. You notice some university departments in the surrounding area of Le Pantheon. Yes, Quartier Latin is home to some of France's most prestigious universities, such as La Sorbonne. The reason why it's called the Latin Quarter is because back in the days, Latin was the language of education. Being the university district of Paris since the Middle Ages, this neighborhood was one of the few places in the world where you could hear people engage conversations not in French, but in Latin. Yeah, this is the Sayu Rinpoche type of restaurant. After visiting all those neighborhoods, I would say that Quartier Latin was my favorite of them all. I made the decision that I would explore more of Quartier Latin during the second segment of my Paris trip. The day was slowly drifting away as the sun sets below the skyline of Paris. I found myself now in the Montparnasse neighborhood, right in front of another famous landmark of Paris. Yeah, so the building behind me here, this is where the military museum is. This started as a hospital or a resting place for the veterans. But later on, this became a national monument, and it also houses the tomb of Napoleon. Now we're gonna go into this site once I get a museum pass later on. Since we're very close to where we ended our walk along La Seine the night before, Hôtel des Invalides was a very good place to resume our late night Paris adventure. First thing first, as you can see, it wasn't that dark yet. Plus the views in the surrounding areas were amazing. I guess I'll stick around for some time before the night finally drops the curtain. Yeah, you can see behind me is the tomb of Napoleon, and there we go. And of course that's Air France, the headquarters of Air France. Columns in the background, and of course that's Pont Alexandre III, or Bridge of Alexander III. I don't ever remember that in French history there's a king called Alexander III. Anyways, if you happen to know who this person is, leave a comment. I know many King Alexanders in Russia, but I unfortunately do not know any King Alexanders in France or in any other country. I think that's the only King Alexanders I've ever heard are Russians. Yeah, so we're gonna resume the tour here. I'm just gonna go take a closer look, and of course here you've got the Eiffel Tower shooting the beam again because well, it's dark. No, from this bridge, and on the other side that's the Champs-Élysées and also the Louvre, but we're not gonna cross this time. We're gonna go walk along the river. Speaking of Budapest, remember Marie from the Jollibee episode? Yeah, she mentioned that Budapest is more Paris than Paris. Okay, I probably talked way too much about Budapest by now. I promise that one day we will visit Budapest together, alright? Pont Alexandre III is one of the most elegant bridges in Paris. It also happens to be a great spot to be at night to enjoy the views of La Seine and the Eiffel Tower. I mean, seriously, just take a look yourself. Pont Alexandre III. People say you can't see the Empire State Building from the Empire State Building itself. And of course, you can't see the bridge from the bridge itself. Despite having so much crowd during the day, Paris at night along La Seine felt more like a normal and real city. People were taking a stroll and doing exercises like you would see in many other places around the world. Finally, our late night walking tour of Paris got to the Eiffel Tower. I didn't spend a very long time there because of, I'll talk about it in a few seconds. Because my hotel was so close to the Eiffel Tower. I went back to my room first, and then I was ready to see a unique light show that you can only see in Paris. Yeah, so I just came back to Trocadéro, and the green space, I believe it's called Champ de Mars. So if you want to view the Eiffel Tower, I wouldn't recommend that place because I literally just walked back from there, and I can tell you that most of the people there are mostly tourists, and there are a lot of scammers and vendors who just won't leave you alone. And even they're yelling in English rather than speaking French. I'm talking about the vendors. Yeah, so they know that they're clearly targeting foreign tourists. And then there was one guy and his wife. I think they're probably from somewhere in the United States. And that person just won't leave me alone. Like, he wanted me to take a picture for him and his wife. And I basically tried my best, but they're still not happy. And then I had to walk away, and eventually they found somebody else, and based on my observation from afar, they were doing the same. So to be honest, I don't even know, like, are these two actually scammers themselves? But good thing is that I misplaced my wallet. I didn't even know where it was until I went back to the hotel room. So I guess, well, if they were scammers or pickpockets, I'm sorry. Even if I was willing to give you my wallet, I wouldn't even know where it was. But anyways, Trocadéro is so much better, and I think the light show is gonna start. Yeah, so today is the last day of my first segment of the trip in Paris. So I'll be heading to other places in France. I think 8 days later, I'll be back. Yeah, I mean, France is not just all about this city. There are also other parts that await us to be explored. I think it was rather a turbulent start. This city just went from a total disappointment to somewhat interesting after hearing all the recommendations from my friends. I mean, seriously, in the beginning I thought this place is just a tourist trap because there are better places for less money and also for less crowd in other countries in Europe. And then I go into the local aspect of life. I begin to discover different neighborhoods, and some of the neighborhoods are just amazing. But anyways, I'm just gonna enjoy the view of the Eiffel Tower for one last time. Actually, let's dig in a little bit more about the Eiffel Tower. Designed by Gustave Eiffel, who also helped to construct the Statue of Liberty in New York. This icon of Paris was originally built for the World Expo in 1889. Today, it is still the highest structure in Paris. I still had some time before I needed to catch my train, so I went down to Champ de Mars to see the Eiffel Tower up close. This is such a rusty tower. Ah, never mind. They're probably gonna repaint the tower. During the World Expo of 1889, there was something else that was already there to accompany the Eiffel Tower, Palais du Trocadéro. However, this palace is no longer here, as Palais du Trocadéro was partly demolished in 1937 in order to construct a newer and more modern palace, Palais de Chaillot, as we know today. Personally, I actually prefer the design of Palais du Trocadéro and hope it never got demolished. What do you think? Leave a comment below and let me know. Well, I guess that's it for the first segment of our Paris adventure. We'll be leaving Paris and head south to other major cities of France, and eventually we'll come back to dive deep into the world-famous attractions Paris offers. Where are we going next? Follow me to the next episode. I should have booked 2-star hotels in France from the very beginning.